Hey guys, so this is going to be us reviewing Ser and Estar, specifically the difference now that we're focusing on grammar for this chapter, changing between present, which is what you guys did for Spanish 1, and now imperfect, which is what we're going to be starting in Spanish 2. So for the most part, we're going to be reviewing verbs that you have already heard previously. It's just that we're going to be doing different tenses, in this case, the imperfect tense. And so it's words that you hopefully do know what they mean, but now we'll be using them in different contexts. So first, we're going to start with a quick ser/estar as well, but a review of the present tense. We actually also did this in the Spanish 1 review, which was just a few weeks ago, but we're going through it again because we're adding something onto this. So ser means to be. Estar also means to be, but we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Ser means to be. The present tense just means that it's something that's currently happening, like I am happy, I am hungry, I am at home, whatever you're trying to say. The imperfect tense, which is what we're going to start on technically this week or today, is talking about a version of the past tense. So it's not exactly just the past tense. You'll actually be doing that later this year as well, so a few weeks from now. But it's a version of it where it is in the past, but it's something that continuously happened in the past versus it wasn't just one standalone occasion that it happened in the past. It wasn't, for example, that I went to Disneyland. Maybe if I went a couple of times, that's fine. But I went one specific day or one specific week, I went there. It's more of as a child, I was really artistic. That was me as a person. I drew a lot. I painted a lot, whatever I was trying to say. So it's a version of the past tense, but not just a basic past tense. It's a continuous past tense that happened a lot in the past, if that makes sense. So we're going to start with reviewing present, stuff that was happening currently. For ser, in the present tense, that would be soy, eres, es, somos, son. I'm hoping you remember all the pronouns that fit into these respective boxes. Yo soy, tú eres, él, ella, or usted es, nosotros or nosotras somos. We don't use the sois, that's why there's an X, but technically there's a sois there for vosotros. And then the one we do use, ellos, ellas, ustedes, son. So that was I am Miss Monge. I am from LA. I am a Spanish teacher. Things that are currently happening, or things that were for the most part about me. The imperfect tense, if you notice, has a couple of different spellings. They look more like the tú form, but just a bunch of different variations. So if I'm talking about the imperfect, as in I was an artistic child, I would say yo era artística como niña. I was artistic as a child. Or tú eras artística como niña. Maybe you were an artistic child if you were a girl. Tú eras artística, because I said a. For one person, él, ella, usted era artística como niña. They were artistic as a child. Nosotros or nosotras éramos artísticas. We were all artistic, right? I'm just using my example over and over. And then ellos, ellas, ustedes eran artísticos como niñas. If a bunch of them were artistic. Artistic. That sounds almost odd. Same thing happens for estar. So we know that ser and estar both mean to be, as you can see by my huge bolded blue words. But estar was used in a different context. So it's still meant to be in the yo estoy, tú estás, él está, nosotros estás, nosotras estamos, ellos, ellas, ustedes están. But this one was more specifically used for feelings, locations. So pretty much things that were more temporary. Currently, I'm in this room. Currently, I am at home. I can change that pretty easily if I had to. Or emotions currently I'm tired, or currently, it's not really an emotion, but currently I feel hungry, right? I can change that stuff. So in this imperfect tense, same idea, right? It'll be something that happened in the past, which is pretty often in the past. I could say as a child, I was always at my grandma's, right? I spent a lot of time at my grandma's house. She was the person that babysat me. So I could say I always estaba. Yo siempre estaba en la casa de mi abuela. I was always at my grandma's house. Again, happened in the past, but it just happened relatively frequently. Tú siempre estabas en la casa de tu abuela. You were always at your grandma's house. For él, ella, usted siempre estaba en la casa de la abuela. Always at the grandma's house. Nosotros or nosotras estábamos. And ellos, ellas, ustedes estaban en la casa de la abuela. They were always at their grandma's house. Knowing when to use these two words is a hot mess. I'm just putting it out there. This will always be difficult. And no matter if you're even in Spanish 3, Spanish 4, I guarantee these will still be wait, am I using the right word? I don't know yet. So an easy, in my opinion, easier way to kind of figure out what word should I be using in this situation, is categorizing or kind of thinking of the context of the sentence that you're working with and using these two words to help you. Ooh, that's going to bug me. My C is not where it should be right now. I just realized that. Either way, you can see where it's supposed to go. So when do you use said or estar? Said is used for a more permanent description of something, someone, people, depends on how many you're talking about, but something more permanent. It's not as easily changed for the most part. So you can use the acronym DOCTOR to help you remember when you should be using said instead of the word estar, for in that situation of I am, since they both mean I am. Or now the situation of like I was, because it was in the past. So you can use said if you're talking about a description, as in I was a child, I was a girl, I was artistic, I was a happy child, right? However you're describing a person, I was small, I was short. Also an origin. Origin is where you were from. So even if you moved literally 12 different times in like a week, wherever you were born, that's where you were born. You can't really change that. So origin, that's just a place that's not really going to be changed. That's permanent no matter if you don't like the place you were born in. A characteristic similar to a description, but it's more of like how someone acts, right? It's not so much the way I looked like a girl, I looked like I was short, but more of how I acted. I was artistic, I was funny, I was intelligent, whatever you wanted to say. Also for time. I know that sounds counterintuitive of if it's permanent and like right now it's, for example, 12:02. In a few seconds, it's going to be 12:03 and so on. But think of it this way. This is very meta, I know. It's like it's always in the middle of the day, it's always going to be 12 o'clock. You can't change that, right? In the middle of the night, it's always going to be 2 o'clock. It's not like it's going to randomly be 7:30 in the middle of the night one day. The time stays where it always is. It's constantly changing, but those specific minutes will always fall during that moment in time. Occupation as well. Yes, you can change jobs pretty often, but for the most part, it's like I'm a teacher. That's who I am right now. Maybe it'll change in a week, maybe it'll change in a year, maybe it'll never change, we don't know. But that's my description, my career for right now. I am this thing. And then relationships. And I don't just mean like romantic relationships, but I just mean like how are people related to you? Are they your friend? Are they your grandma? Are they your cousin? Are they a brother? Whoever they might be. For estar, you use it for more temporary descriptions. So we use the word place to kind of help you figure out if it's going to be using estar instead of using said. So for place, it's going to be like a position. So I don't necessarily mean a place like at school or at home, but think of prepositional phrases. Is it next to something? Is it under something? Is it on top of something? Like right now, my computer is on top of my desk. I can change that pretty easily and put it on a chair or put it under the desk instead. So a position of something. A location, then it would be like this is in the room or at school or in the park or whatever location you're actually talking about. Also an action. We haven't actually talked about these just yet in Spanish too. You will come across them later, but this is just hint as to what you will be doing later this year. But action as in like they were eating out a lot or they were talking to new people, whatever you're trying to say. So an action of doing something like not currently. Back then, during that moment in time, these people were talking to this new family that moved in across the street, right? So they were doing something. It was an action. A condition, similar to a description, but more of like my computer is new or my computer was new and now I had it for 2 years and it's not really new anymore. Or my computer was broken, so I had to buy a new one. So a condition of something. Most likely an item, not so much a person yet. We will talk about health in Spanish too, like as a unit of study. And so you're going to learn how to say sick and in pain and injured and all this stuff. But for right now, we're thinking about things. And then an emotion. So I was happy. I was tired. I was annoyed. So how that person was feeling during that temporary moment in time. At least we're hoping it's temporary. So using said and estar will always be confusing, sadly. But using doctor and place to help you choose between said and estar should hopefully make things a little bit easier. So I recommend kind of memorizing what doctor stands for, memorizing what place stands for, and then whenever you're working on assignments or you're building your own sentences, ask yourself, oh, I'm going to be talking about an emotion. So which word should I be using here? Or, oh, I'm talking about how they were my cousin. Well, what word should I be using here? And help you choose that way. So pretty much we know what said and estar is. At least we did the present way. This new way is just a version of the past tense. So just like these words were like I am, you are, he or she is, we are, and they are, technically for both of these, they mean the exact same thing. I am, you are, he or she is, we are, and they are. Here will just be the past tense version. So it'll be I was, he was, I was, you were, that's the tu eres. He or she was, we were, and they were. Again, for both the said and for the estar. Same definitions of the English form, at least. So I know it's going to be confusing. We're going to keep practicing with this. You guys are going to have quite a bit of practice between said and estar. And I'm still kind of having you choose between present and imperfect in some ways, just because it's a whole new tense. So I want to make sure you know. In English, we know it, right? We've lived with it for like your entire life. But knowing how to choose the correct tense as well. So hopefully this is relatively easy, maybe, to understand. If not, rewatch, take your notes. This PDF, these notes are going to be, or already are, on Canvas for you to take a look at as well. So if you guys do have any questions, of course, let me know in class so I can help you guys out. But this is just going to be going over said and estar, but specifically now, a version of the past tense. So you can write even more sentences about things that you did back then. And I'll see you guys in class. See ya.